Hello, 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 and welcome to the very first episode of Lead, Laugh, Love. Today we are bringing you an improvised talk show with some of the best leaders of LinkedIn. So a lot of you guys that have been with us from the start have known we experiment a lot with our shows, our content, and this is exactly that. So we just want to create a platform and a conversation for people to have high-level conversations. And essentially, what we're going to be doing here is tapping into leadership, personal, and professional development, anything and everything in that world. And the four experts we have here on board today are masters of LinkedIn, familiar faces. The first we're going to have on deck is Dr. Brian Harmon. Next is Alex B. Sheridan, Ravi Rajani, and Jonathan Palmar. And what we're going to do today is, after you see this, I'm going to be gone and there's going to be a lot more attractive faces on this camera. And they're going to go ahead and jump into the show. Our primary host is going to be Ravi, and our expert guests will have tons of insights and knowledge bombs to drop here for you. So without further ado, welcome to episode 1 of Lead, Laugh, Love.
What you gonna do?
Ladies and gentlemen, how fire was that intro by Trav? I was like, did he do that?
We're not worthy.
It was interesting. He said the screen is going to move to some more attractive faces. I don't know about that, man.
I would say more attractive face.
Yeah.
And then like the rest of the guys in the room.
So today, ladies and gentlemen, and this is the honest truth. Before, probably about 15 minutes ago, I said, okay, so guys, we're talking about sales and sales strategy or speaking or something. And Travis was like, no, we're talking about how to be a good leader. So news to me and news to you today, that today we are going to be discussing how to be a good leader. And to all of my friends watching right now, how can I look? This is real. This is going to show you that this isn't scripted. How can I see who's watching? How many people are tuning in right now? Is it like a rolling feed? No?
I see Ren Todd. Excited to be here. Thank you, Ren. Nice to have you.
Ren, my man. I like it.
It's a she.
Yeah. Robbie, hit the comments button.
She. Where's the comments button? Oh, Ren, of course. Excited to be with you. What up, Ren? So, fellas, gentlemen, doctors of the room. Let's start with the doctor. Let's start with the doc. What does the term leadership mean to you, Brian? I want to know.
Leadership. Thanks, Robbie. Good question. I spend my life dedicated to the study of leadership, the discipline, the practice, the coaching of leadership. In a nutshell, you could call it a bunch of things. An energy, you can call it the way you treat people, but leadership is essentially the practice of two major things: strategy and influence. Strategy is like, am I being effective in my vision, my purpose? Am I being strategic in the right places? Am I in the right marketplace? Am I pushing humanity forwards? That's the strategy side. The influence side of leadership is about, can I influence myself, like self-leadership, and can I influence others on that mission to push the world forward on whatever it is that I'm doing? So yeah, leadership is a practice of strategy and influence. And to me, it's about service. If you look back in time at all of the world's best leaders, some come to mind, I'm sure. The Gandhis, the Mother Teresas, Dr. Martin Luther K. Jr. Those people were not self-interested. Their service to the world came from a very collective sort of place. And that's why this influencer title started. Because if you think about how we all met, a lot of us at least, was through Shay Rowbottom, who people call an influencer. The reason that people call her an influencer is she's just helped more people than non-influencers. So as people like John becomes what we consider an influencer, all that means is that he's just helping more and more and more and more people. His audience is getting bigger and bigger and bigger because he's helping more and more people. So I think in a nutshell, yeah, Ravi, your question, how to be a better leader, is help more people.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for taking 7 minutes of the show. How do we?
I was waiting. I was like, when's the intro going to start?
Thank you for your time and Lead, Laugh, Love. I am your host. I mean, damn, man, ask for a minute. 7. But okay, ABS, aka Alex B. Sheridan. I want to know 2 things. What does the B stand for in your middle name? And number 2, who is one leader that you see on LinkedIn who is actually, you see showing up dating, you're like, actually, they are here to serve, and they are actually showing up like a real leader in the context of what Brian, I can't finish a sentence in less than a minute, Harmon said.
So the first question, my middle name is Bennett.
That's my son's name. What the heck? How did I not know that?
Good name, man.
Really?
Secondly,
so Alex, why just the B? Is it just for ease, or is it just
why just the B?
Yeah, it's Alex B. Sheridan. Do you just prefer why not?
Let's keep it real. I had 2 profiles. One was for my full-time job, and one was for this. Full-time job is gone, and now I'm just doing this, and so I had to create 2 profiles. So actually, most of the things that you see, the greens, all this stuff, is really because I had to do it, and then it just turned into a whole other persona. So
that's why they pay the big bucks, bro. See, that was good. That's why they paid the big bucks. That was good. So hit us up, man.
Yeah, in terms of people I see I mean, there's a lot. I mean, everyone on here I would consider a good leader in their space. And I think for me, like, leadership comes down to, definitely influence. I think it comes down to 2 main things. I think of it like almost like a teeter-totter. Like, one is the genuine care and the helping people and really in it for the right reasons, for reasons that you want to make a positive impact on other people, because people got to feel that you care. They got to know that. On the second side is the push to your potential. Is to sometimes you need to shake people up, and sometimes you need to hit them with the hard, cold truth. Because if you just the kind, caring, Mr. Nice person, cool, but are you really pushing people to their full potential? But if you're just the push person and all you're doing is constantly trying to push people and you're not showing them some love and some care, then you're kind of the asshole, right? So it's like, to me, I think it's that balance between those 2.
Mm-hmm. I love that, man. And I love for JP to maybe take this a little bit further. But what it sounded as though you said, Alex, was it's not just about being the nice guy. Sometimes it's about telling people what they don't want to hear, because that may be the one thing that actually progresses their life, right?
Yeah, you give people what they need, not always what they want, because it's 2 different things sometimes. You're really in it to make them great, and you're really in it to impact them in a positive way. Then you've got to deliver them what they need, not just what they want, but you deliver it in a caring way.
Yeah, I'm with you, brother. I'm with you. Marissa Brown says, you guys are missing some body parts that would help further your leadership. I agree, Marissa. I agree, but don't doubt Brian, okay? Don't doubt Brian on that point. Don't doubt Brian on that point. I think Marissa's right. She's got a good point there. We need some more diversity in terms of gender to really talk about leadership effectively. But JP,
I was actually thinking, like, when she meant we're missing some body parts, like, this is typically the format that all of us always do our videos, right? Like, do any of us actually have legs? Like, no. I don't know if anybody thought of that, but they only see, like, torso up. We might not actually have legs under here. You know, it's possible. So, yeah, we might be missing some body parts. It's very possible. Yeah.
Potentially true. And Marissa just said, no, I'm not. And by that, I mean, you're not women, but seriously, you guys are missing something called empathy. Empathy. I agree, Marissa. Stay tuned. It may just come up because JP is about to spit some fire. So, JP, you're like the man of LinkedIn, right? As they say, the Tarzan of LinkedIn. You are the authority. So, when you see other people putting out content consistently, and I suppose trying to gain that influencer status, what does being an influencer mean to you? Is there such a thing? Do you think? If so, what does it mean to you?
I definitely have like a very conflicted relationship with that, because you will see that some people on LinkedIn will legitimately put influencer like in their headline, and to each its own. You know, if that's your thing, then so be it. But what is super interesting, and I've kind of learned through my own process, is LinkedIn actually has an influencer program. You may or may not have noticed it, but certain people will have this little blue. It's almost like the what's it called? The check mark that Instagram has, but on LinkedIn they have something very similar, and it's got the little in logo, and it's in blue, kind of like the gold for people that subscribe, but it's in blue. So that kind of indicates you are an official LinkedIn influencer. So I always think it's kind of funny when somebody self-proclaims they're an influencer and they don't have that little check, that little mark to indicate it. So yeah, like it kind of bothers me a little bit, because it's like, anybody that calls themselves an influencer, I already kind of like, yeah, I would hate for somebody to buy into a program or something like that with the belief that this person is actually an authority when it's a self-proclaimed authority. So yeah, not a huge fan of that. But to speak more towards leadership, something that I've learned in my experience is just because you're charismatic or you're good on the camera or you're a good talker, you can talk, does not make you a good leader. And that's something that I've learned the last 6 months on LinkedIn. There are some people that are very silent but have incredible leadership qualities, while on the other side there are people that, rah audacious, and they can speak, but myself included, I do not consider myself a good leader. I think that I can articulate a message effectively, but in terms of leadership, I'm a disaster. I've learned through this experience that I need a team of people to help manage me, keep me on track, because those leadership qualities, they don't resonate with me. So that's kind of my take on it.
I love that, bro. I love the honesty as well. And we've got Marissa saying, yeah, we need some. No, that's Trav saying we need some more women in this mix for sure. I agree. Connor says stack panel today, solid group of guys right here. And Travis says y'all likely have legs, JP, but hopefully you're wearing pants. You never know, Trav. You never know, man. You never know. I don't know what time it is in Miami right now, but it's early. It's 6:30 p.m. here in the UK. I'm
Anybody wearing shorts?
Oh, that's so weird. Dude,
no socks too, man. You just
yeah, dude,
bro.
barefoot.
I mean, you ever heard of spray tan? Like, damn.
Or the real.
I've been indoors too much.
Oh my god, literally, they are pale. So anyway, moving on, Brian. Right, I want to know your opinion on this. So you've said this regularly. Let's just take this worm out of the box. Is that the right word? Woodwork or box? Let's open that can with the worms, right? That's what I was going for. And say, you have your own belief on certain leaders on LinkedIn who have big followings, right? Now, a lot of people would consider Gary Vee as an amazing, empathetic leader who consistently puts out content. Now, I know you are such a big advocate of leadership through your work. What do you believe about Gary Vee's style, the way he shows up on LinkedIn? Would you say that is somebody who is a true leader in your opinion? Or would you say that is somebody who, like JP said, who's focusing on becoming an influencer without the fulfillment at the back end?
A lot of things that Gary Vaynerchuk has done are very, very aggressively empathetic. He has a chief heart officer. I mean, how many corporations are doing that? Is a multi-million-dollar, tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars that he's doing in advertising and media agency work. So I think it's really cool. I have actually spoken with some employees of VaynerMedia that have spoken incredibly highly of the work environment that is there. Outside of that, I can't speak to it too much. I don't know. I don't know so much about him as a person. I think that one of the things I've learned from Jonathan Palmar, who's here, is that we should be watching what he's doing, because he is usually not doing what everyone else is doing. And there is a reason for why that is happening. Why is he using cartoons? Why is he doing all these things on multiple platforms? Why is he putting slide decks on LinkedIn that are 700 slides long? I start to look at that, and John really pushed this curiosity in me. What he does is he does try to provide as much free value as he can. And that really, to me, is the definition of leadership in many ways. So I think what he's doing is cool, but again, that's about as far as my exposure goes with that.
I like it, man. I like it because he's somebody who I know you've spoken about previously on LinkedIn who, as JP says, observe because they're doing something which is right. And also it's very contrarian, right? And he's very bold about his positioning as well. Marissa says, I appreciate the candidacy. I think you have to expand leadership. I've definitely realized that we all have the capacity to be leaders, but I don't think that everyone has the ability to empower or inspire. And for me, that is the mark of true influence. Now, that's an interesting point from Marissa, I think, because actually, if you see somebody like Gary Vee, who's constantly putting themselves out there on social, and you see that and you go, that's who I resonate with as a leader. That's all I see. As a result, I have to be like them. When actually your own style as a leader all comes from the self-awareness around you and your skill set. What do you think about that, Alex?
That's really what I was going to say next. I think one of the things that gets overlooked so much from the leadership conversation is that it kind of starts with you. Like you have to really self-reflect and look in and say, who am I as a leader, as an influencer? Why am I that way? And how does that show up every single day? And are there any gaps? But I think the reason Gary does such a good job, I think, is because he's very self-aware and he talks about it a lot. He knows who he is. He knows where he comes from. He knows why he's that way. And he knows how that shows up. And he's aware that sometimes it can show up not the way he wants it to, but it's who he is. And he's aware that sometimes it can show up the way he wants it to. But I think you have to be able to reflect and think about, why do I want to lead? Like if I'm a leader out there listening right now and I'm trying to get better at leadership, the first thing I want to do is look inwards and say, why am I leading again? Let me remind myself what the purpose behind this is. Is it to serve other people, or is it for promotion? Is it for the extra pay grade, or is it because I want to make an impact in someone's life? And what do I stand for? Like, what are my belief systems? I'm sure Dr. Harmon covers this in his coaching calls and things like that in his programs, but what are your pillars of belief? What do you actually stand for? What are the things that you just don't waver from, that you really deep down believe in, and you understand why you believe in those things? Because during the tough times, and times get tough as a leader, and it can be very lonely at times, you have to understand kind of where you come from and what you stand for, and you have to understand how that shows up every single day.
Dude, I think that's super, super powerful. And I want to get Brian's opinion on this, because here's my truth. There's a lot of successful CEOs who have done one thing, and success can mean different things to different people, right? But let's assume on paper, let's just go with financial success very specifically for a second. They've done one thing very well for a period of time. They've got up the career ladder, and they've got themselves to a position where they're a CEO. Now, arguably, because they've operated in one way their entire life and it's been quote unquote successful, they don't maybe feel that they have to look within. They're like, but why? I've done this for the past 30 years and I've generated revenue. Like, why do I need to do that? And I think there's a shift now happening, massive shift, where you have to, and I also think it's been brought about massively due to COVID, which is forced introspection. You now have to really think about your value system, how that's being dispersed across your business, how you are truly getting the best out of other people, intention, all these things that you've spoken about, Alex. So Brian, talk to me about this. You've coached so many leaders and executives. How do you deal with...
Really quick, I wanted to share something before we get too far off from Gary Vee.
Yeah. So, hit me.
Yeah. So here's the thing. A piece of advice, because something I don't really care for is the way that sometimes people sensationalize or try to, because I see it on LinkedIn a lot right now, where people will make it seem like, they're running these programs or they're having all of this success because, they have a bunch of followers or a ton of engagement. A piece of advice that I'd love to give everybody out there, if you really watch Gary Vee's content, one of like the really important pieces that I've spoken to other people in similar positions that a lot of people don't focus on or talk about is kind of like living in the dirt for a little while. And I'm going to be completely transparent. I don't necessarily like talking about this because it's kind of like, it can be considered a little bit humiliating, but I took a 70% pay cut. I only bill, 25 to 27 hours a week. And I spend every single moment of my day engaging with people, creating my content. building brand, living in the dirt, making that financial sacrifice right now did impact my lifestyle. I was living relatively comfortable for a while, but I understand that as you're going through that growing process, you have to live in the dirt a little bit. Gary Vee talks about that a lot. And, you're looking at the clouds where you want to be, but, you also have to embrace that dirt. That dirt, we can really look at it as, the dirt can either bring us down or it could be that fertilizer that helps us grow. So, I would encourage anybody that if you're going through this process, don't get too romantic with the engagement or the people that are following you. I could do sales calls, make money, but I understand that you've got to kind of like focus on that long term. The reason why I feel like I've been able to grow so fast is because I'm pinching pennies. I'm trying to build a brand so that in time, I can live in the cloud. So that's probably like the most impactful thing that I've learned from Gary.
So this is interesting. Before we go back to the original question to Brian, is what I like what JP said. It sounds as though if you had to take that in a nutshell, it sounds as though, dude, what you're saying is actually true leadership is by saying everything's not pretty from day one. You do have to eat dirt, live in the you said live in the woods. What was it? Live in the dirt. What was it? Where we live in?
In the cabin.
In the cabin.
Yeah.
Lights off in the cabin, right? And you will have to do that for a period of time and create sacrifice. And it's up to you what that sacrifice is. But for you, it's to build that brand so you can ultimately impact people in the way that you want to, and also ultimately live a lifestyle that you want. But it's something's got to give. And for you, it sounds as though you sacrifice your lifestyle, man. So kudos to you, brother. I know that you're doing amazing things on the platform, and everybody sees it every single day from your videos. So
like, does everybody else have like a weird relationship with when some people say like impact other people? Like, I don't think that's necessarily my intent. I don't want to be somebody that like how would you say it? It's not necessarily somebody that inspires people. Like, I think that's like so like cringy. Is it just me when people say I want to inspire other people? It's like I don't think it's necessarily that. I think it's just like, if like I can help guide somebody, or I can give like Brian said, that free value or something that helps somebody along the way, then that feels like it makes it worth your time. When you see the comments and people legitimately appreciate what you added to their life, that's awesome. But like that whole I want to inspire people, romanticizing it. It's like, kind of like, it's kind of cheesy.
John, I think you're actually wrong on this, because you call it guidance. But what you do when you put out the quality of thing that you're putting out in your content, then I look at my content and I say, could I step this up a notch? So that is actually the core definition of inspiration is in spirit. I want to be on your level. I want to get in spirit with you. You have influenced me to want that. And I'm looking at you for guidance. Like the three of us, Ravi, Alex, and I, and even Travis, who's hosting us, we constantly are awaiting that release of your next video all the time. Because I want to see, what has he done this time? What has he done this time? Okay, how am I going to incorporate some of these cool things? That is inspiration. So if you think about what it is you're actually doing, John, it's you're educating people on how to have a voice on a very mysterious, algorithm-driven, like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And before I met you, John, I didn't know what I was doing. I was all over the place. Now that you have inspired me and guided me along the way and coached me along the way, whether you think it or not, you are a leader. You're a leader to me, and the rest of us are looking to you in admiration for what's that next tip, because you're constantly pushing that quality, the professionalism. Whether you like it or not, John, you're the leader.
Inspiring, brother. I think, hey, you could call it cheesy or not. I do want to inspire people. Like, I know it's an overused term, but I name my company Impacts because, like, I'm here to make an impact on people's lives. Like, yes, there's the business side, there's the customer side. But if I'm fully honest with myself, when I win a couple customers and some revenue starts coming in, that's cool and that's good, right? But when I hear someone, I was on a call with someone today who said, I started making this kind of content because of you, because of your content, because I didn't think you could do something like this on LinkedIn until I saw your videos and I realized, wait a second, I can actually start doing things that I want to do that bring out my personality, that allow myself to unleash my creative, my potential. Like, that's the shit that drives me. When someone, a year from now, like we all talk about the people who influenced us and inspired us, there's just people along the way that you saw, that you talked to, that they just made you think a little bit differently. And I think, man, that's like the driving force. behind, I think, a lot of what I do. The money's great, the revenue, the customers, the business, all that stuff. I'm not going to I want that for sure. I want all the money and the all that stuff. But deep down, like, that's the shit that means something. When you did something that impacted somebody else's life, that made them take a different course that they wouldn't have taken if it wasn't for meeting you or engaging with you, like, that's special. That's special.
What you just were talking about,
you do. So,
Alex, is the intrinsic motivators that are really the thing that drive our purpose. The extrinsic motivators are the money, that stuff.
Right.
And that's just enough to fulfill our basic necessities in life. But that inner thing, the intrinsic purpose, that is where we start building that inspiration. And I don't know why exactly John is putting out this awesomeness, but
it's probably because we all have holes, or I have gaps in my personal life that I'm trying to fill by doing this, and this makes me feel good, whatever. It's all probably internal stuff anyways. It just makes me feel amazing when I hear about people that have done something awesome, and I was somewhat a part of that along the way. So it's probably a selfish thing anyways. It makes me feel good, but it is what it is. It's a positive thing. So I'm riding with it.
Love it.
Listen, man, JP, what do you have to say to that? This is a pretend camera in my hand. What do you have to say to that?
I think it's, you know what it is like, because I do see what Brian and Alex say. I think that social media, like anything else, there is a certain percentage that might like ruin a word, where it's like we don't want to identify ourselves with it, because as soon as Brian said guidance, I was like, all right, I can go with that. I feel better about it. It's almost like the difference between an influencer and a content creator. Like, I don't like identifying as an influencer, but a content creator, it's more like, it feels more like artistic expression. I can identify better with it. So yeah, like I do agree. I see the point of view. I think that social media has ruined certain words because they've just been so overused that it's to a point where it's like, I want to distance myself from it, because I don't want people to identify me as like looking for that, looking for people's validation or anything like that, because that getting validation is not necessary. We all want it. We all need it, going back to Brian's point. But I think to that degree, it's not necessary.
Yeah. Well, dude, like, I think the interesting thing is you are an influential, let's go with that. You are an influential individual on LinkedIn right now. And we've seen some of your content, right? That is, I guarantee that people watch those videos and go, how did he do that? Like, I'd love to, I've seen your comments, people like, how did you do that, JP? What, camera did you use? How did you cut that? What did you do? How do you come up with your topics? Because it's inspiring. I know you don't like that word, but it's inspiring people to take imperfect action, because you've spoken about your story, right? About how you sat on the sideline and then Gary V was pecking in your ear, and you eventually started producing content. And within 6 months, your journey, dude, whether you like to admit it or not, it is inspiring. It truly is, because you've gathered so much momentum doing something which is highly influential on the LinkedIn platform. And it's teaching people how to produce LinkedIn video content, which actually generates revenue, and people want that. So I think I'm with the three here. I'm gonna have to gang up on you, man, and say you are inspiring, bro, whether you like it or not. And let's take this to Mr. Brian Harmon now. So
yeah, Ravi, I got to tell you one thing about John. What's happening here right now is that he doesn't want to be called a leader or inspirational. The same way that you might sometimes see a leader who really harnesses their authoritative positional power, and it's like, you do this, you do that. That's not helpful. And actually, John, coming from that humble place, the more empathetic place, the more, hey, it's not about the title, it's about the work. It's about the quality of the work. It's about, and he's sitting in there. John and I took out a pad and calculated how much time he spends on a single post. It was something 13 to 15 hours in total. So it's about the quality of the work. It's not about the title that people give him as a result. So it's the same thing as like those who don't want to lead. That's okay. That's okay. But you're not concerned with titles. That's even better. Let's keep promoting those types of individuals like John, not the people who just get pushed into these positions where now they're using their position to manipulate and to influence in the negative way.
Well, look, that right there, I think is powerful, because let's just be real for a second. There are plenty of people within organizations across the US, UK, who are organically moved from individual contributor positions into leadership positions, and it's by default completely, and it doesn't always work out. For me, the big thing is that being a leader is not about having director on your name or MD, managing director, or CEO. I think that's irrelevant. I know a lot of people in those positions who are not leaders. Just to be quite frank, not leaders, in my opinion, right? And it goes back to that point, Brian, or question rather, which is you're coaching an executive or a leader, right? Let's say, who's in that position where they are leading a group of individuals in their organization. Now they come to you and they say, listen, Doc, I'm having a problem. Okay. Do they ever say that? Did they ever say, listen, Doc? Never?
No, I go by dude.
Bro.
I go by Benny's dad, Christina's husband, bro, hey guy. Not a lot of Doc, but go ahead.
The pale dude from LinkedIn Live. Anyway, so so you're having an individual who comes to you and says, look, I've been promoted to this position. I have no idea what I'm doing. What would be the number one thing, the first step that you tell them to take in order to really make that title their own versus make that title your own? Yeah, make that title your own.
Yeah, Ravi, you and I have had this conversation about conscious clarity.
Yeah.
The people that light up a room, the people that get us all jazzed up and fired up about what we're doing, it's because they know why they're doing what they're doing. They know why they're doing it. They know how they're going to get there. They know what's next. And that energy, we can feel it. And if it's good energy or bad energy, you cannot bullshit people. They see right through it all the time. There is no like, I'm going to fake it till I make it nonsense. That just doesn't work. If you're doing it from the right place and the right reason, then you are on the right direction. And the way you do that is by living a life that is aligned with what's important to you, the thing that you value. So when I say hashtag lead with love, what does that mean? It means my number one core value is love. I know what my values are, my core values, and I set goals in each of those values so that I can live a values-driven life. And people see that. They're going to say, oh, he's that love guy that always is talking about the love and the trust in the workplace. Yeah, and the reason I want to do that is because I hated my job for a long time. I was in the wrong career for 15 years. And sadly, we've all worked in shitty jobs with a shitty boss. And those are the bosses that don't know what they value, or they're busy and blurry. But we don't want that. We want the leader that knows what they're doing and why they're doing it.
But here's what I think, Brian, about what you said. And I'd love to get Alex and JP's view on this, right? Is that I actually think it's not just about witnessing good leadership. You could smell that, right? You go, I want to work for this person or partner with this person rather. I'd love to be a part of their team and be mentored by them. But here's the truth, right? You can learn so much from toxic leadership. And I remember somebody came at me on LinkedIn and said, you shouldn't wish a toxic experience on anybody. But the truth is out of pain are the biggest business ideas. Out of pain are the biggest growth opportunities and experiences. So by you having that shitty boss, would you be where you are right now? Probably not. Maybe not. I don't know. JP, Alex, what do you think? And before we get your opinions, we've got Rebecca saying, found you making an impact and inspiring people to take imperfect action. That's exactly what JP is doing there. So
speaking of bad bosses, I don't know if this goes along with everybody, but just through my experience working with Shay, like there definitely has been just such a key difference. You know, she is a young woman, and this is a startup company very much. You know, it hasn't been around for very long, but I've learned some really impactful things, even from a CEO that may not be as seasoned as some others. And the biggest factor that I've seen in my experience, you know, just in the last 6 months, is trust. So many CEOs, owners, you know, bosses in general, they're always stressed, right? They're always stressed. They always deadlines, and, they tend to put so much on themselves. And you find it's because they don't trust their other employees. one thing that is a strength of Shay is even from the gate, she felt like she could see my potential, and she gave me the keys and said, try. You know, instead of having the mindset like these limiting beliefs that this person's going to fail on me, so let me keep all the responsibility on my back. The fact that she has the ability to trust others and delegate so that she can focus all of her attention on what is the most important for her time, you find that not only is she a happier boss, she has happier employees, and all of us can work harmoniously, feeling secure and feeling good about ourselves, empowered because we're being trusted. And I feel like in the workplace, often, management deals with employees from a standpoint of, how is this person going to screw me over? How is this person going to drop the ball? And then I have to do so much more work on the backside of it. Where if maybe we just trusted our employees a little bit more and allowed them to kind of like just spread their wings, I think more people, more bosses would be amazed at the results. But it starts with trust.
Alex, what do you think? What do you think it starts with, brother?
I mean, like we talked about earlier, it definitely starts with looking inward, obviously, and understanding. Going back to what Brian said earlier, is like, why do you want to lead, and why does it matter to you, and that kind of stuff? Because that's you creating your own title versus just falling into a title and thinking you got to do something. But yeah, JP's point, I mean, you can only do so much as one person. You have to delegate, and you have to trust your employees that they're going to do a good job, and you have to build that trust, which means very early on, things that you can do is come through on your promises, make a commitment to yourself and to other people, and actually follow through with it. I mean, and trust gets built. You get to know somebody, understand where they want to go. I'm sure Shay probably understood, JP, where you wanted to go, what was important to you, and what was going on in your life, and you felt like she cared. And then she gave you some rope. She gave you some room on the rope, and she said, "Hey, go for it." And you probably demonstrated to her very early on too that when she gave you something, that you followed through on a commitment, that you came through. And when she said she was going to do something, she came through on what she said she was going to do. And that's how you start slowly building trust. It's care, it's action, it's commitment, it's follow through. It's as simple as that, but it's consistency. And what all trust is like, hey, I just know this person's going to do it over and over and over again consistently. Like he knows, and you know that if you say you're going to do something, you do it. That's it.
Love it. I love it. And here's the interesting thing, which I took from what Alex just said, is that if I think about it from my own experiences, it's not about what you want for somebody. It's about aligning to helping them become the best version of themselves on their journey. And,
right.
It's interesting. You may say, I want you to be in this position in 1 year. That's what I want for you. Yeah, but that may not be what they want for themselves.
Right.
And it's like a partnership. It's like a marriage, right? I'm getting married next year. So I know JP and Brian are already married. So you can give us more on this, dude. But it's not about you have to succumb to my vision. It's all about me and you fall into my vision. It's about, in my opinion, helping that other individual in that partnership grow and become the best version of themselves on their journey. And if that's leaving your company, great.
Well, one of the benefits of like getting really good with self-reflection and looking internally and thinking about why do you do certain things and what do you want out of your journey of life and career is that when you do that type of reflection, you now think of when you meet somebody else, you instantly think of what do they want and what do they care about and why does that matter and how does it show up? And so if you start working with somebody, it's the first place you go because you've done it on yourself and you realize how important it is. So naturally now it's like, it's not about me. Like it's not about someone joins my company and what I want from them to be. Not at all. It's about where do they want to go in life, and can an opportunity to partner with me get them there, or at least help them. This be the vehicle to where they can maybe get to the next stop even. And that's all my focus and energy is put towards that. And so I tie everything back into. Remember how you said you want to do this, and this was most important for your life and your kids, your family, whatever it is. This can help you get there. And that's a great point that you bring up because you have to think like that. It's never about you as a leader. It starts with understanding yourself, but then it quickly goes to what do the people around me want? And when you serve, I always talk about like, if you stay giving, you'll never have to worry about getting. It's the same thing with content too. Like JP, like we all give a lot in our content. We give away free tips. We share things. We give perspective, strategies, because when you constantly give and give and give and you make it about everyone else, you get everything that you need. Because people respect you, they want to help you, they want to give back to you because you've done so much for them without asking for something in return.
That's interesting, dude. Like, and JP, I want to get your thoughts on something before we head into the final section of Q&A. Before we do that, Rebecca says, "True, Rav, I've seen my fair share of bad bosses and been through it. I can tell you, though, it has taught me a lot and I'm stronger because of it." Yes, love that. I love that. Judith says, "What a treat to catch all of you together." What's up, Judith? It's been a while. I ain't seen you for a while.
Hi,
Wilson
Judith.
says, "Hey, Judith." Wilson says, "JP, you inspired me to grow my hair." Don't say that, Wilson. He don't like inspiring people.
Where's the hair, dude?
He doesn't like inspiring people, Wilson.
I hate
saying
that word. I guided you to grow your
He
hair.
hates it. Okay, you need to ask him what shampoo he uses. He still won't tell me. But and conditioner. But anyway, listen. Before we head into Q&A, drop your advice or comments inside of the comment section. So as we wrap up into the final 9 minutes, we can get your questions answered live. So JP, on the back of what Alex just said there about intention, especially talking about when it comes to content, putting yourself out there in a position where people can feel that somebody is giving without actually expecting anything in return. Now, to finalize this point, from your experience of being on the platform, I know one of the things that you're a very big advocate of is showing up as a leader who jabs, then you can go for the right hook. So what's your view on a lot of leaders showing up as CEOs of their businesses or entrepreneurs who are just hooking the whole time? What do you think that showcases about them as a leader?
I don't blame them. I don't blame them. You know, I've done enough of these calls where you recognize the fact that it's just like anything else. What's the first stage of kind of introducing somebody to your company or looking for customers? It's lack of awareness. A lot of times people just don't understand. They don't know. They don't get it, right? So, you know, traditional advertising was very much in your face. It was about the sale, you know. Look at any infomercial. The price is there from the very beginning, right? So, you know, this is a business networking platform. So it doesn't have the DNA for selling. It's just not the way that the platform functions. The platform is about networking. So, you know, giving guidance is a more neutral way of doing it. I'll say this much. I have never in the last 6 months, not once, never pitched in my content, not one time. And that hasn't stopped us from generating quite a bit of revenue every single week, every single post. You know, one of the pieces of advice that I would give people is a lot of people, when it comes to developing their content, it very much becomes an afterthought. You're just checking the box. You're just, you know, you splatter something on there. You either write something really quick, but again, checking the box is very much the goal. But what if I told you, if you spent 8 hours coming up with the best crafted post, but you knew that it could generate 5 figures of revenue twice a week, would you take the extra 8 hours and develop a really, really great piece of content? Like, to me, it's not even a question. And that's really what it comes down to. For the business, you know, one piece of content could generate 5 figures. So I'm going to spend the extra time making it the best possible, as opposed to, you know, here's the choices. I could either take 10 sales calls and hope for a similar result, or I could create 2 pieces of content that do take an insane amount of time, but it will generate the same revenue. And I didn't have to go through, for me, the awkward sales call. So, you know, pick your poison. To me, this one's a lot sweeter. So I focus on the content, and I do not make, there is no hook. There is no me pitching. Luckily, because of the industry I'm in, I think I have a little bit of an advantage because my LinkedIn content talks about LinkedIn, and inherently it always performs well for that very reason. But yeah, and I mean, over time you get better at it. You identify exactly what people want and exactly how they want to hear it. That helps. But it all starts with spending those 8, 10, 15 hours on one post. And that will really help you stand out, because I guarantee very, very few people are doing the same.
Dude, you got to put in the work, right? You got to live in the woods, as you said.
Actually, to me, it's being lazy. And,
really?
Yeah, it's being lazy, because instead of taking those sales calls, I'm kind of like, I'd rather just do the work myself and develop the message instead. So it's almost like, like it's, to me, it's lazier, because, you know, I could do one or I could do the other. This one seems a little bit more natural and easier to me.
Or would you say it's having the self-awareness as a leader to know how you're going to generate the best results given the time that you have?
Yeah, very much so. I'm sure that's a factor as well.
So before we wrap up here, Brian and Alex, here's the final question. Do leaders create leaders or do they create followers? And this is inspired from Jason Lopez in the comments saying, true leaders create more leaders. What do you think, gents?
True. I mean, I think it's to create followers and leaders. And I think a really good leader is also a great follower.
Should everybody be a leader though, Brian? Or is it good to have followers in the world too?
Of course. I'll let Brian handle that one. He's waiting.
One of the things I tell every leader that I work for as a coach is you need to become replaceable.
Yeah.
If you are not, if you're just so stuck up in the actual thing that you're doing every day, putting out the fires inside the daily stuff, what that means is you're not a good coach. It means you're not delegating appropriately. You're not giving people enough trust. And when you do that, that's when you start to see that choking of productivity, of performance. So it's really what Jason Lopez says. This is really, really important. You have to always be putting in like, what's the succession plan? Who's going to come up and replace me? Who's going to replace them? Who's going to replace them? Who's going to replace them? That always has to be that, because then you're focused on people's growth and the service aspect of those individuals as they develop in their career. And that's what drives meaning in our life on a personal level is, where does this role fit in right now so that I can retire knowing that I lived the right life?
That right there is, for me, so powerful, because there is, and let's be real, there's a lot of leaders out there who will hold on to their secrets and knowledge because they believe that makes them indispensable. Oh, you wouldn't understand. It's too complex. It's too this. It's too that. As a result, when they leave, sometimes they may want the company to fall without them. As a result, ego gets in the way. But let's be real. If you leave and the company is doing just as well, you have done your job, if not better. You have done your job. So I think that's a super important point from Brian, because Marissa just said, absolutely, Doc. Great leaders trust their teams, and they create leaders, effective leaders who can not just do their job, but maybe even do it better than them. So they can start focusing on not being in the business, but start working on the business, right? It's the key. So, ladies and gents, any final comments in the comments section before we wrap up? We got 120 seconds here. This is the first show. It hasn't gone to what we thought as planned. Has it? Has it gone to what we thought it would be? I don't know. Fellas, what do you think?
I think it's fine.
I think it was fun, guys. Well done. Good conversation. Thank you all. And the comments were great as well.
Brian, why are you acting so different? You normally don't act this. Brian, thank you for the comments.
Yeah,
bro.
Thank you.
You need some vitamin D, bro.
Yeah, no, I got this tag on my plant, and I'm just getting comfortable over here. That's all.
He's very
just moving in, getting settled, Ravi.
Getting settled, brother. Well, listen, ladies and gents, Marissa says, I have such a problem with people that don't want to share their process. Building the bridge is key, and knowledge is the padlock. I just made that up on the spot. That wasn't premeditated. I think that's a good point to end it. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you. Fellas, I'll see you next week for a brand new host. Who's the host next week? Is it JP? I think it's JP.
It's me?
I think I just put him on the spot. Yeah. I just put you
All
on
right,
the spot.
it's me.
It's JP next week. We don't know the topic yet. You guys will know it probably before us. Much love, and I'll see you on the other side.
All right, no, just really quick. So it's going to be in my shower. It's going to be a shampoo tutorial.
Yes.
Teach you guys all how to have ravishing locks.
Finally, man. Everyone wants to know. I want to know your pre-shampoo routine, your shampoo routine, and then the conditioner, right? Like, who takes longer to wash their hair, you or your wife?
Well, it's just toothpaste. Just like a really solid toothpaste. Put in your hair, some olive oil, you're good to go. We'll try it. I don't want to give away all the secrets yet, you know?
Yeah, you're going to lose
That's
my
the
hair.
jabs, no right hooks.
That's what you're building the brand for. You're going to sell some secret sauce.
Monat. What is it called? Monat? Yeah, like I'm going to start an MLM. That's the plan.
Exactly. Well, you got three people in your pyramid right here, bro. For the LinkedIn Locks program, the LinkedIn Luscious Locks by JP. Marissa says perfect. Great show, says Greg. We appreciate you, brother. Marissa, you are perfect. Thank you for showing up and being so active in the comments. We appreciate you, ladies and gents. I'm sure you got better things to do than listen to us four knuckleheads. I'll see you on the other side very soon.
Yeah, thanks,
Much love.
Thank you guys so much for attending the first episode of Lead, Laugh, Love. I hope you enjoyed it. Please share any and all feedback with us. This is a live show we're experimenting with each week. So go ahead, subscribe, like, follow, do all the things. We appreciate your support, and we hope to see you next week. Take care. Live? Oh God, we're still live.
We're still live.
Oh God.
All right, so step one. I'll just get into the shampoo now while everybody's
broadcast. Oh yeah. Well, welcome to our first improvised show. Now it is officially over since we have found the end broadcast button.
This is the
Take
after
care.
hours. There's still 5 people here. This is going to be more popular than the other. But more popular than the actual show.
All right, take care, John. See you next round.